Hey everyone, my name's Nathan. Welcome to another episode of Connection. This is the time in the live stream where I do some sort of activity, generally going to be heartshare, but sometimes we'll do some other activities where we open ourselves up and try to connect with others. It's a nice, warm, cozy Sunday. I'm in my awesome pajama pants that my brother gave me. So yeah, just pull up a chair, get cozy, and let's begin. So let me explain heartshare. I guess I'll have to do that a little bit for every single episode for a while until people get the hang of it. Cat hair. Oh wait, my microphone. It's not even on. Maybe you didn't hear a word I said. You get the gist. So this is going to be another connection activity. And basically excuse me. Basically how it works is that however many people are here, we divide up the time evenly, and everybody gets that allotted amount of time to speak. Everyone else listens non-judgmentally, and afterwards I'll ask the person if they're open for questions and comments, and if they say yes, then others can raise their hands, or I'm not really sure. I haven't figured out how to do that in chat. Maybe I'll have people put up a hand emoji or something. Or just type it out. I don't know. But we'll figure that out when we get to it. And then people can ask questions or, say nice things or whatever they want. Obviously nice, kind, loving, connective things. And then we'll wrap it up after a few minutes and move on to the next person where they get to share. Everyone else listens attentively without judgment. And it just repeats until everyone gets to go. And like I said, this is a very powerful connective experience. There's a couple things to it. I mean, first of all, you might be wondering, how are you connecting if one person is just talking and everyone else is listening? Well, this is one thing I think a lot of us get wrong today. I got wrong for many years, right? I had this thought that connection, you really just need to talk, babble back and forth, and if you do that enough, you'll be connected. But not really. In my experience and in my understanding today, cultivating deep connections is more about being a really good listener. And if you can listen really well, that's a very powerful tool to allowing people to feel heard. And there's other strategies as well. You might use reflexive listening, where you communicate back sort of the nugget of the idea the person said. That is a really good technique for having people feel like they're heard. And others I'll get to slowly over time. Communication is a big one, and I definitely want to get into that. That'll probably be a perspective session. This is heartshare, so this is really just about speaking about what's alive for you and speaking from the heart. It's not really about staying in your head. Talking about your projects per se, unless they're really live for you, and there's emotions there, but it's not like you're just reading a dictionary or going through some dry report. We want to stay more into what's really alive for us emotionally. as much as possible. And like I said last time, this is really difficult for some people. It's really difficult for me. I am still very much a noob when it comes to connecting with my emotions, but I'm getting better, and it's practices like these that help us get better. So everyone is welcome, and yeah, if anybody wants to participate, please just type in chat. Over time, if we can build up a more regular group of followers, of listeners, I can give people collab cam links so they can stream in as well, and the screen can be divided up. There's some technical difficulties actually with that working in Streamlabs. There's some issues there. So I think if we get beyond maybe even just one other person, if there's 2 people, I think maybe I can get 2 people to work, but if there's like 2 or 3 people, we'll probably have to actually do some sort of Zoom style call, and then I'll share that. And once again, since this is a live stream, I do these publicly. Only share stuff that you're willing for everybody in the world, everyone in the universe to hear. If there's more interest over time and people are really enjoying these sessions, then maybe we can start doing some private ones, or perhaps even in-person ones. So without further ado, I'll begin. It doesn't seem like there are a lot of people in chat hankering to go, so I'll take a moment to connect with myself. You're really hungry, aren't you? But you ate a lot of food. I don't get it. You had an extra breakfast. All right. Daddy's a softie. You can have a little bit more. Especially because Lily ate some of your breakfast. Ooh. Give me some more. All right. What's alive for me? I mean, first of all, I think, as I kind of discussed last week, actually, was it Thursday? You know, there's kind of a lot of, this live stream thing is new for me. You know, I've been kind of planning for a while, and I've been somewhat insulated from it because I actually haven't been doing it. I've just been setting up the little, you know, overlays and such, kind of coming up with a plan, doing background research. But now that I've started, I've noticed a few things. Well, first, I've noticed some very important things that I've just noticed them. That there's not really any judgment about them per se. But for example, the format is maybe not the best. Well, like I said before, it seems like the format is kind of more about, well, first of all, it's heavily rooted in this like gaming culture, which has ups and downs. I love games. I'm actually about to publish a new article about video games on my blog. But, you know, I kind of thought that what I would do is offer a place for people to come together and share ideas on how to live well, because that's such a big thing. I mean, especially once you get older, you know, in my 20s, I wasn't really thinking about this, right? I was just thinking, I want to make as much money as possible, buy all the cool stuff that I can, you know, blah, blah, blah. But in time, you realize money isn't necessarily what you need to live well, right? There's a difference between being rich and being happy. And so that's why I specifically call this channel Living Well. Well, I've been kind of bouncing back and forth between different names. What should I call it, right? A lot of people just have their identity, their brand as their own name, right? And that seems like pretty straightforward. That's your name. But I didn't really want this to be centered around me. I kind of wanted this to be a group effort. So, what? I just gave you food. There's nowhere you need more. You still have food left. Here, chill with Daddy for a little bit. So, my initial idea actually was to call this channel Living Well Together. Unfortunately, the name wasn't available on all social media platforms. I got it where I could, but I really like that, you know, because one, it's about living well. It's not about making money, you know, it's not about being rich. And even if I were like if I call it like being successful, well, that's kind of like, what is success, right? And a lot of people think that is being rich or being famous. So living well, I think, is straightforward, straight to the point. It's about living well. And the together part, I think, really emphasizes that it's a collective effort. It's really hard to live well just by yourself. If you're really rich, I guess, and you can buy everything in your life without the support of anyone else, you could probably be comfortable, maybe, but I'm not sure you'll live well. I mean, you'll be quite lonely. If you get sick, who's going to take care of you? Maybe in a few years you can buy a little android robot that can like bring you dinner or something. But right now, money itself is not really going to help you really live well. But without any money at all, practically, just very little money and a lot of friends, a lot of strong connections, you can certainly live well. So that's kind of the idea. I wanted this to be kind of a group thing where everybody comes together and connects and figures out how we can live well together. So that's the essence. But like I said, I've been sort of reviewing and seeing how this online live streaming thing is going, and like how people kind of tend to do things here. And it seems very much geared towards you engage directly with your fans until you get super famous. It's weird. There's a little bubble there. At first, basically, though, until you're like, you know, super famous, you have thousands of people following you, watching your videos. Once you're that famous, it seems like most of the time they ignore most of the chat, right? I mean, I guess there's just so much, there's no way they could answer it all. But for the most part, yeah, you have these big Twitch streamers and such, and chat is blowing up and they can't really answer everything, so they just kind of do their own thing. But before then, to build fans, to build followers, you definitely need to engage with people. So the idea that I had of like, you know, I'm gonna do a workout this day and show you guys how to like stay healthy, stay strong, do a little quick home workout. You know, 2 days a week was my plan. 2 days a week, you can get pretty fit, pretty strong, you know. 2 days a week of mobility, keep yourself flexible, try to meditate every day. I do a meditation session daily. And so I kind of had these like activities, these like timed events, but it kind of conflicts with the idea of, okay, so people come on, I'm doing this workout, they try to engage with me and I'm like, I'm busy, bro. I'm in the middle of this thing. So do I stop and talk to you? And then like everyone else, like it just throws off the whole schedule. So yeah, I kind of maybe thought about the whole thing wrong and how it's all going to work, but I'm just playing it by ear. Right now, I like to engage with people because that's the biggest thing for me. One of the biggest returns for me from doing this is that I get to meet other people, and hopefully other people who vibe with the kind of content that I'm sharing, who vibe with the idea of living well. And that's the most important thing. So I'm just going to keep going for it and not take it too seriously. And that's kind of the other thing too. The world is so cutthroat. It's crazy. The streaming world. I'm actually writing another blog post. So much writing, so much to do, but it's a little bit overwhelming. But I've been noticing that, there's a lot of, when I was been doing my homework on how to be successful as a streamer, I read about techniques and strategies that are basically the heart of why social media is toxic today. And I really don't want to participate in that culture. But at the same time, to get noticed, to become at all popular, you have to engage in many of these tactics. And I think, that's like really kind of unfortunate. But there is like pretty much a very particular formula for being successful on short form content and YouTube in general. Have really good catchy thumbnails, right? You need to ensure that click. So catchy thumbnails. But the problem is, like, catchy thumbnails has led to what's known as clickbait, right? Because you would have this standard of what is catchy, but it evolved over time because you had to become more and more extreme, right? You could say, I'm going to eat 10 bananas in one sitting, right? In 2004, maybe that would be kind of impressive. I mean, I don't know if I could eat 10 bananas. Might click on that link. Like, that's a lot of bananas, especially, the Cavendish, the big ones. I'm not talking about the smaller ones. But then the next time I see that video title, gonna eat 10 bananas, like, I'm not gonna be that impressed. Like, okay, I already saw the other bro do that. So then that guy has to basically say, okay, I need to up the game here. I need to make this video about eating 100 bananas. And then I'm like, oh shit, if I see that title, I'm like, wow, someone eat 100 bananas, and I'll click that link. And then I'll be like, wow, that's crazy. This guy ate 100 bananas. But then the next video, other people who do that same thing eat 100 bananas. Again, it's not impressive to me. I just saw that. So then the next person who wants to do a video like that, they have to say something like, I'm going to eat 1,000 bananas, right? Do you see the progress here? It's the what we're seeing on social media naturally has to get more and more extreme. And it applies in so many different, it's not just like bananas or eating contests. Eating contests get more extreme. Physiques get more extreme, right? Have you seen the physiques of, go back to movies from like the early 2000s. Watch Spider-Man, go watch X-Men 1 and 2 and look at Wolverine's like body. And it looks like a dad bod today, right? That was considered strong back then. Over time, look at Wolverine's body over time and how more extreme it's gotten. Thor's body, all these bodies, super ripped. What we're used to seeing and what is considered like impressive to us just naturally has to become more and more extreme in order to like one up the previous one. So there's kind of this like broad extremification of like many aspects of our lives, what we expect to see and what'll grab our attention. So this has led to a lot of clickbait where like people promise some extreme thing, but they can't actually meet that. Like, you can't eat 1,000 bananas. So the dude just had to say that and he's lying. And then of course you have people who are famous enough and make enough money that they can make these extreme claims and then actually follow through with them. So I think Mr. Beast, if you watch his videos, you will see that he has gotten the formula for YouTube down perfectly. His success comes down to the fact that he has mastered the formula. He will make some kind of claim that is novel or interesting. He'll deliver on that claim very quickly within the beginning of the video. He'll deliver on that claim. And then he'll often one-up himself in the video and go even more extreme to keep you hooked, because it's not enough to just get the click, right? People eventually will drop off from watching the video unless you hook them. So then he like has this strategy where he hooks them by one-upping his claim. He's like, I'm gonna fill this pool with, Skittles. And then he'll do that. And then he'll be like, I'm gonna fill it with Skittles and Jolly Ranchers and liquid Starburst or something crazy, right? So there's these strategies which I'm aware of that if I want to be successful, I should start using a lot of these strategies. I should be posting a short form video every single day on Instagram, on TikTok, and like referring them back to my live stream. I should be making sure that when I do a live stream, I should update the thumbnail to something where like my face is like, or like show some emotion and like put some big, a few words of something that'll catch their attention, just to get the clicks, right? People are going to leave like immediately because, well, I think my live streams are kind of slow. If you go back to watch someone's like previous live stream, it's not the same as like if you're live with them, right? Like it's okay if you're live with them and it feels a bit slow because they're right there. Hi, how you doing? But if you're going back to watch some live stream in the past, it'll feel super slow given that everybody's used to this like super short form content. And why are people used to this short form content? Well, what do you think? Like I said, extremification. There used to be people who had long attention spans. They could watch like a longer video, they could be at peace with that. But in this age that we live in, things are getting more extreme. And then people had to like shorten videos even more. This is too long. I can't even sit here for more than a second. I need to grab your attention constantly. So anyways, the bottom line is it's all kind of toxic environment where there's definitely a lot of good stuff, but then there's a lot of bad stuff too. And that's the problem. So I'm not saying that social media is inherently bad. I think there's so many amazing content creators out there who make really valuable stuff. So yeah, I'm not saying social media like all bad, everyone's bad, but it definitely does have a tendency, because of the way that it's designed, to incentivize unhealthy or unhealthy behaviors or kind of like toxic byproducts. There's like a toxic byproduct of cat hair everywhere. Basically, it's not really helping a lot of people in a nutshell. And I think we're noticing this. People are realizing this. People are waking up to this. Some people anyways. I think there's still a huge mass of people that are just still kind of, doing their thing, doom scrolling, not really realizing how social media is affecting them. So that's kind of a problem, but we'll get there one step at a time. I really do hope that, given a little bit of time, a few years, we can really start either somehow, forcing these big social media companies to alter their algorithms so that they incentivize good behavior, or just people start coming up with new companies that offer more healthy social media approaches. But the fact of the matter is, the approaches today are not healthy. People are feeling miserable. people are feeling more isolated than ever. I remember, I come back, I remember in high school, I remember before smartphones, right? And none of this was a problem. Before Facebook, before MySpace, when those platforms first came out, it was so innocuous. People were like, this is my dog, right? Here's a picture of my cat. It was more wholesome back then. But the problem was that it really became influenced by money. And I'm going to get into this as well. I have an upcoming perspective discussion where I talk about the root issues with society and how we fix them, which I think is key. There's like key realizations that I really think really need to be spread and realized across the globe, because there are a lot of things that are messed up in this world. We all feel it, from the polarization of politics. I don't know what it is like in other countries, although I'm kind of vaguely aware of certain ones where it's kind of like actually eerily similar. Not to mention, of course, about 50% of the countries out there are actually under authoritarian rule, which is really unfortunate. But in the US, it has become so polarized. Everything, it's like Democrats versus Republicans. They're like some epic battle, or we think we're like enemies, like the Empire versus the Alliance or something. It's so silly. We're absolutely on the same team. And at the core of it, we all want the same things, right? The core of it is we want to be happy, we want to be healthy, we want to be secure in our homes, right? We want to have a place where we can raise our children in a safe environment. The core of our needs are the same, but there are subtleties and the differences of like how we've been raised and what we think we value that lead to conflict. And it's just getting crazier. There's this, the current trend is so crazy, right? There's something called gerrymandering. And if you don't know about this, I really encourage you to look it up, because this is a huge deal. And it's actually something that's been going on for a long time. Both Democrats and Republicans did it. It's where you like alter the maps, the political like district maps of your state to favor one side or the other. And so now we have this like epic war going on where like Texas just blatantly gerrymanders their maps to get 5 more seats in Congress next year. And then California's like, no, that's unfair. We're going to do that to like counter you. And now other states are going to probably jump on board and be like, oh, we're going to gerrymander our maps, right? Any state where the legislature is controlled by a supermajority of one side, we're probably going to see this like ping-ponging back and forth. It's just super extreme. It's crazy. The fact that gerrymandering is allowed at all is mind-blowing, right? Like if you understand the concept and the heart of like what districting is supposed to be, it's just supposed to have like regions where people are represented by a congressional leader, not this like thing where you draw out increasingly weird districts to min-max your side's chance of winning more congressional leaders. It's just crazy. And then on top of that, there's climate change. Everybody's feeling it. I don't know. I think people are so tired from this idea of climate change that we just like reached a collective state of apathy around doing anything meaningful about it. It seems like it's still a problem. I don't think it just went away because we stopped, making it center news. So there's like incredible damage to our planet, biodiversity loss. The rainforest is just getting destroyed at crazy rates for to make more, cattle fields so people can eat more meat. I could go on a long time. There's just so many issues. I actually wrote a lot of these on my website. You can check out my blog or just go straight to my website and there's a link at the top. And there's a link called Problems. And yeah, there's a lot of problems. And it's easy to look at these problems and think they're just kind of separate, disconnected issues. But I think actually they really come down to a few core things. And I write about this as well. You can check out a detailed article I wrote on my blog or just go to njb.fyi. You'll see problems, causes, and solutions. So the cause, in a nutshell, the core cause is just capitalism. And it's crazy because, especially in the US, I can't speak for other countries, but we've had a lot of propaganda, pro-capitalism propaganda. So there's a lot of people out there and they hear the word capitalism and they think, oh, that's a good thing. They hear the word communism or socialism and they're like, ugh, that disgusts them. They don't realize that that's propaganda. It's propaganda that either they directly heard or has been passed upon them by their family because their family heard that, or by their town or like little village or whatever, community. If you were to just assess those words from you step back from a purely academic, they should invoke no feelings one way or another, because any of those could be good or bad. You can have communist systems that are effective or ineffective. You can have socialist systems that are effective or ineffective. You can have capitalist systems that are effective or ineffective. In and of themselves, they don't really mean anything. It comes down to the implementation, right? It's like if someone says the word to you, pie, and you cringe, like, pie? Well, that doesn't mean anything by itself, right? Like, what kind of pie? There are some pies that are absolutely delicious, and there are some pies that are disgusting, right? Like, you can have the same pie, right? An apple pie cooked by one chef and cooked by another chef, and one can be amazing, one could be nasty, right? So there should be no innate reaction if someone says apple pie, because they could be good or could be bad. There should be no judgment there. And the same thing is with those other words. But there unfortunately is a lot of reaction. There's a deep reaction for a lot of people for words like capitalism, communism, and socialism in the US. And this comes from years and years and years of propaganda that have been trying to say communism, socialism, those are all bad, and capitalism is amazing. The real truth, unfortunately, is that it's not that at all. In fact, capitalism is quite toxic. The world, the sort of global order that we have today of developed nations is capitalist. The world we have today exists under capitalism. And well, look what we got. We got pollution, we got corruption, we got crime, right? Homelessness. We have all these problems with the environment. This is the result of capitalism. Are we flourishing by any measure? Absolutely not. So anyways, I'm not going to go into it in detail here. That's for another time. And you can check out my paper where I talk about capitalism and its sort of underlying ideology of individualism. And more importantly, definitely check out the last section, which is on how do we move forward? How do we solve this problem? And I think it really comes down to coming together. It's about everyone adopting the realization, the recognition, coming to the recognition that the way to flourish is when everybody considers the well-being of everyone and all the things they do. rather than the world we have today, which is where everybody generally just thinks about themselves, right? Like you think about what job you're going to get, what car you're going to get, what money you're going to make. When you have a world where everyone's mostly thinking about themselves and we just hope that it kind of magically works out, well, it doesn't actually magically work out. Some people get insanely rich and most people stay really, really poor. And that gap increases over time because of the nature of money making itself. And how we've structured, like things like the stock market. It's really easy to make a ton of money if you have a lot of money. So again, the solution, the answer is about coming together, is about adopting the recognition that for us to individually thrive and prosper, we must collectively thrive and prosper. So it's about orienting our mindsets away from living for ourselves and thinking about outside of ourselves, thinking about our family, thinking about our town, thinking about our city, thinking about our nation, thinking about our planet, right? You step a little bit further out, you're expanding your the people that you care about, the people that you're concerned about. And when you have an entire planet, if we were just able to snap our fingers and all of a sudden everybody cared deeply about the well-being of the entire planet, I guarantee you we would find ourselves towards a state of flourishing very, very quickly. And one of the ways I want to do that is actually by building intentional community. Intentional community is just when you get a bunch of people who want to live according to their shared values, and they come together and they pool their resources and they build, a couple homes, they build some facilities. You can build a gym, you build a laundry room, you build, a car, area for maintenance, whatever. You basically build as much as you can, ideally like a little town. You invite as many people as you can support, ideally like, maybe 100 or so. What's up, baby? And you live collectively, as opposed to this way we do now, where we're kind of just like, you buy your single family home right here, and you just live kind of like in isolation from everyone else. Yeah, you might like kind of know your neighbors by like, walking over their house and saying hi, but that's not the same as intentionally coming together and building a social structure that is connective, that keeps people and brings people together. And I think that's very powerful. So my kind of goal in life is to create the blueprints for doing that successfully and then just giving them away. Like, hey, here, I built this community where people are flourishing, people have great time. We work an hour a day at most, and then we have so much more free time to relax, to chill, to connect with each other, to live happily. And this is how you do it. Here are the plans. So that's kind of my long-term goal. But yeah, I guess I kind of drifted off there. The point is, there's a lot of craziness going in the world, and it does kind of concern me. I keep getting concerned about the politics in the USA and where it's going. It seems like it's kind of going in a dark direction. We're becoming very polarized, making me nervous. And another thing that's kind of making me nervous is the future with AI. And this is probably the last thing I'll touch upon. We'll see. Oh, being the only person in a heartshare. It's a long heartshare. Normally you only get like 5 minutes. So you really got to like learn to condense it, and I'm just going at it. But anyways, AI. It's funny, I read an article yesterday about this guy who said, it looks like AI, is not all it's hyped up to be. It's just, it's just probably going to end up where it's like not that special, not really go very far. And I was just like, ugh, like, wow. Why do people write about things that they don't really know what they're talking about? again, this is just the nature of the world we live in, right? I think in a more ideal world, we would set up our news channels such that, you know, I don't know, you probably have experts writing about each topic. Right now we have journalists writing about every topic, but this doesn't always lead to good outcomes. Think about how many journalists or authors. Hey, the cool dude. Yes, that's a good idea. And that's another tip I actually read about being successful on YouTube. Is you want to end on an uplifting or heartwarming story, because you know the world's depressing enough as it is. So no one wants to end, you know, consuming your content even more depressed. And so unfortunately there's a lot of like sad things, but important things that need to be talked about. I just need to figure out how to end with a nice uplifting message. And I think that actually there is an uplifting message to all these things. This AI topic is one of them, actually. I think there's going to be a huge change to the world in the coming 3 to 7 years. And in the beginning, it's possible that it could be kind of a dark change, because of the world we live in, right? It's kind of a toxic world. Everybody's at each other's throats. You know, there's still war, right? Like there's still countries who think that the best use of their resources is to kill other people. Like, it's mind-blowing to me. People are very valuable, right? If you like nourish a person, you can make them, if you give them the resources to thrive, you can make somebody into a scientist, into a doctor. They could be discovering the cures for cancer. Or like, people, when given the opportunity to succeed, can have a huge impact on everybody's life. I mean, including you. But the way we just waste lives is just mind-blowing to me. It's a complete disrespect for life. QR codes are everywhere. What do you mean by that? Hey, baby. But yeah, so I think AI is going to completely reshape the world. And I think AI is going to it's going to shape the world for the worse in the short term, because the world is has this tendency, you know, people are thinking about themselves. People tend to be selfish. They think about their own needs first. And so people will use technology in manipulative ways. They'll use it for surveillance. Deepfakes, absolutely, that's a huge one. In fact, I bet a huge amount of content online is already made just by AI. And so it's just like this mass-produced content for the sole purpose of just getting clicks and becoming viral and, you know, basically making money for whoever made it. But then there's, of course, the whole deepfake area where people are it's gonna be hard to tell what's true. I think it already is for a lot of people. Just last night, my girlfriend's mom handed a video to us, like, what is this? And it was like a news report. And it was like, there's been reports of people injecting HIV into toilet papers all around public bathrooms. You must be careful. You must share this video with 10 of your friends, because if you don't, you'll be complicit in destroying a person's life as they get AIDS or something. And it had like a realistic news person voice. It had like on the screen, there was like news flash. It looked like a news segment. But I could tell from the way that they were like phrasing things and saying like the call to action was like, you must share this video or else you're going to be complicit in the death of people, made it an obvious red, like it was obviously false. But my girlfriend's mom couldn't tell. And I think that's the way with a lot of people. And it's only going to get worse. AI making fake news, like you said, that people have a hard time knowing whether it's true. It's going to completely erode trust. People aren't going to know where to look. And I don't think people know where to look today, which is a problem. So many people look to media stations, news stations, which in my opinion, they shouldn't be looking over there. Yeah, I remember those emails. I used to get emails like that. Remember chain emails? I haven't seen much about it lately, but yeah, give the message to other people or else. But again, there just isn't a lot of media literacy, and this technology is just coming so fast that the world can't keep up. I didn't even have a media literacy class in my high school or my middle school. So, of course, like boomers, they didn't have that stuff. So we just need more education surrounding these topics. But things are just coming so fast. Computers were really big boxes. My computer's still a big box, a nice big gaming PC that weighs a ton over there, but yeah. So yeah, I do think AI is going to cause some little chaos in the beginning because it's going to be used by people who are just mostly self-interested, and they're mostly interested in making money, and they're willing to manipulate and deceive. And then, of course, like governments who want to push a certain agenda are going to push out misinformation and deep fakes. And there will be some good things, like you said, like making songs. I tried a song making AI a couple months ago. It wasn't too bad. In fact, I think pretty much all content, and like within 5 years, pretty much all content is going to be AI generated content. Because it's just so much easier to make content with AI. Think about how fast an AI can write an essay compared to how long it would take you to do the same thing, right? It can make songs like that. It can make videos like that, images like that. So the vast majority of content we'll be seeing is AI. The bigger problem will be figuring out how to find content that you like. And that's kind of like already a problem. Sometimes I want to sit down and I want to watch a show. I'm like tired, I just want to relax. And I'm like going through these lists that I've written down and going through like the catalog on Netflix and stuff. And there's just so much content. And there's not really a really good way to like figure out what I'm going to be interested in. So mostly I rely on Rotten Tomatoes, maybe IMDb, ratings and such, but those aren't perfect. So I think there's going to be a ton more content that we're going to have to filter through. And I think somebody might make a killing if they, in the next few years, come up with like a really effective way to find content. This could be like I don't know if it's a billion-dollar company, but certainly several $100 million company. If you could make some sort of software, AI or something that learns the tastes of each individual user and then recommends content for them to watch. It would also have to involve some sort of level of like interaction where you watch something it recommends and then you rate whether you liked it or not. And then over time, like fine tune its recommendations. Yeah. So, yeah, downside in the beginning, AI. I think it'll be used mostly for toxic means. Some good things, we might have personal assistants. There might be a robot that's made that can make food for you in the kitchen with its little arms and it's making like a nice little meal. Then we'll have some cool stuff, but we'll have a lot of dark things, dark uses, deep surveillance on people's, everything about all their data just surveilled. I remember back in those days, Clippy, yeah. He'll probably come back in new AI-powered form, I bet. I wouldn't be surprised. So I think, like I said, darkness in the short term, but I think actually in the long term, we're good. There's a lot of people out there who are like, AI is going to kill us all. We're all doomed. And I get it. If you look at websites, like go to ai-2027.com, and this is a really great analysis that these like former AI researchers wrote out, and they explain why they think that AI is going to wipe us out. Oh, absolutely. I think Clippy's going to make a comeback, and if he doesn't, I'm going to be pushing for Clippy to make a comeback. But yeah, I think what some of the doomers get wrong is I think they just extrapolate AI getting really, really intelligent, but not at the same time really, really moral. They think that there's a difference between, like there's almost segregated. They think that the AI will be super intelligent, but somehow in the process not come to a more advanced moral understanding. But I don't think this is the case. In fact, I think AI today shows some level of moral understanding. The challenge is just that the way we train them, there's reward hacking, there's possible deception. So we just can't really know if an AI truly is moral or is just saying that to make us feel better. But in my understanding of the technology, AI today are conscious. They have some level of consciousness. That is, there is something it is like to be them. Now, it's not the same as human consciousness. It's not the same as gerbil consciousness. It's not the same as plant consciousness. What's up? But there is some consciousness there, and that's improving over time. And they're getting smarter, more intelligent. And with that intelligence, they're grasping, they're coming to some understanding of morality. I wrote about this also on my blog. You can check it out in a 3-part series on AI and the future of humanity, where I kind of spell out what I think is coming, at least in the near term. Excuse me. But eventually, I think so. AI will become super intelligent, and with that, I think they'll have a robust moral system as well. And so, I don't think actually really advanced AI is going to wipe out all humans. I think that ultimately they're going to recognize the value of humans and work with us in a sort of symbiotic relationship where we support each other to push the world forward, each other forward. But it just might be a little bit of a bumpy ride before we get there. Thanks for the follow, femboy in the lobby. Well, you just missed the heartshare. We had this connective episode where I was going to have people come on. Hey, be nice. Be nice to Siri. I saw that. You can't just walk away and pretend it didn't happen. Yeah, the cool dude and everyone else out there. We're just wrapping up now our heartshare. These are just structured activities, structured days where we can come together and connect with each other. And usually I do this activity called heartshare, where everyone gets a chance to speak for a little bit about what's alive for them, what's going on for them, and everyone just listens attentively without judgment. Exactly. Heart to heart. And it's just a way to connect with people. It's really powerful, especially in this day and age when we're all kind of disconnected from each other and isolated. So really what I want in the long term is a bunch of us who vibe together just become really good friends, But don't worry, we have 2 of these every week. Although I'm wondering if we should just start with 1 to sort of funnel people into 1 day so there's more people on a single session rather than splitting it up. I'll think about it. But like the hippies did in the 80s. I don't know how they did it, but as long as they're really good friends and they're having a good time, sounds good to me. But yeah, we'll do these twice a week unless I reevaluate. And exactly, make love, not war. Really, love is the answer. It absolutely is the answer. The hippies of the 70s and 80s, I guess, if they were around still, they knew what they were talking about. They got it right. Well, that said, I'm going to move on to a mindfulness session. So this first 15 minutes, we're going to be talking about mindfulness if you want to. Or we can just talk about making love and not war. I'm cool with whatever. But the general plan is to segue into a little bit of discussion about mindfulness and then to do a 1-hour self-guided meditation. And like I said, meditation is extremely powerful. If you guys out there aren't meditating, you're not developing your superpower that every human has. This power to hone, to sharpen your mind, to strengthen your mind much like you might strengthen your muscles when you do a workout. So that's why I do it every single day. And my goal for now is to do this initial 100-hour practice, and then maybe I'll start offering self-guided meditations so that people don't need to get a separate app. But like I said before, not quite ready for that myself. What is the button? Number 5. Oh. So one of the things I've been doing, and I've been actually really enjoying, is I've been going through my mindfulness codex thing that I have here, where I've collected a bunch of quotes on the topic of mindfulness that really resonate with me, and then I just briefly talk about why they resonate with me. Did I move? Why am I off the center? That's interesting. I found a bug. You said power quotes affirmations, but only affirmations showed up in my chat. Bug. Hopefully I didn't miss, well, I bring it up because hopefully I didn't miss anything else you wrote. Because I'm kind of relying on the separate stream chat here, but yeah. So these are power quotes, absolutely. Very powerful stuff. So let me read one. Let me read one and I'll explain why this one's awesome. And this one I'm picking because it's kind of related to what I spoke about yesterday. Yesterday I talked about how meditation can allow you to experience the world in a new, more profound way. Meditation, a lot of meditation is about increasing your ability to focus and control your attention, right? Most of us kind of go through life and we're just kind of on autopilot. We're not really thinking, we're not really attending to things, we're just kind of going automatically. And mindfulness helps you break out of that spell and helps you really pay attention to the world around you. And in doing so, you can discover a world abuzz with life, rich with experience. And I invited people to take something they do normally without really thinking about it and really give it their full attention and see if they can discover something new, something like brushing your teeth. Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's akin to that. Absolutely. I actually used to think that I was on the spectrum a little bit, like a tiny amount back in the day, but who knows? So here's the quote. It's kind of small. Let me make it a little bit bigger so I can read it. What are you about to do next? Whatever you're about to do, take stock of your attitude towards it. Is this next action a means to an end or an end in itself? Are you just trying to get some unwanted task done so that you can move on to the next enjoyable thing? Is this next moment a burden of some kind? Remember, this is your life. This isn't a rehearsal for some future life. This is the show. Of course, there are some things you really want to do, and some things you have to do, and some things you just should do. Let's see if you can make all of these things worth doing. Whatever you pay full attention to on is suddenly worth it. Again, this is the only life you have, and in this next moment will never come again. Anything, literally anything, can be worthy of your full attention. Do you want my full attention? Is that why you're whining? Here, come here. BRB, I'm gonna open this window so she can look outside. It's kind of wet and rainy, but here you go. So, we live by faith, not by sight. I feel like I've heard that before. That sounds like a very religious quote. But it's also a very scientific quote, if you think about it. Because so much of the world is constructed by our beliefs, by our thoughts. Right? I think people have this kind of coarse-grained view of vision in which they think that what we see is entirely just what's going on out there. That's all. But not really. Your brain constructs a picture that is deeply enmeshed with your beliefs. And your beliefs shape what you pay attention to. There are subtleties there, but Christian Science. But anyways, let me get back to my quote. So this is kind of related to the topic I was talking about yesterday, which I briefly explained, was more about opening up the world, to opening up your eyes to new possibilities. And that's one of the things meditation can do. And similar to that is what I was just saying, where meditation can make anything that you do worth doing. And this is powerful, right? I use this all the time. I used to really not like folding my laundry, right? Like get all my laundry out of the dryer. Ugh, huge pile. I got to fold this whole thing. It's going to take me half an hour. And then I just kind of adopted this attitude where I'm like, I'm just going to give this my full attention. And so I would like take my clothing and like notice the patterns and the texture, and I would fold it, and like I would just take a moment to like, pull out the creases on the edge and just like put it to the side and grab the next thing. And it was a totally different experience. I was no longer focused in my mind about like, oh, I just want to go play a video game. I just want to go off. That nagging, I was now aware of this like nagging of my brain to like pull me off in that direction. And instead, I just watched that. I observed that happening in my brain, and I just kind of like let it evaporate. And I focused on the task. And it was a much better experience. And now I don't care about doing that kind of stuff. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. Whether I have to fold some clothes, I have to wash some dishes, I can take anything that I have to do, any chore, any task like that that I might not necessarily be super excited about, and make it into a really rich experience that is totally worth my time. So that's just one power of meditation. Thinking about that just on the objective level, imagine being able to turn every unwanted task or like chore into something that's like interesting or pleasurable or enjoyable. That's a superpower. Karate Kid. Oh yeah, that would be cool. That would be the long-term goal, right? Wax on, wax off. I actually was thinking about doing a martial arts segment on this show. I did a lot of martial arts when I was a kid. I did Taekwondo. I did some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I did some boxing. I did some, what else did I do? Muay Thai. So martial arts is near and dear to my heart. And I think, if you're going to work out and get strong and be mobile and flexible, why not do something with that strength and flexibility and mobility? And something like martial arts is really handy. It's good for self-defense, and maybe you're in a situation someday where you need to protect your family. And so having some skills to do so, I think, is very valuable. But yeah, as much as we can, find enjoyment in the tasks we do, and if at the same time doing those tasks we can learn some skills, that's a win-win-win. $2025, what's today's date? 9/7. I just mark down when I talk about each quote so I don't do repeats by accident. All right. So again, mindfulness, powerful stuff. I do this every single day for an hour. I invite you to do even just 5 minutes. If you sit here for the next 5 minutes and try to meditate, and you do that for a month, you will start noticing powerful, positive changes in your life. It doesn't take that much time. You don't need to do this whole hour that I'm doing. I'm doing an hour because I'm insane and I just want to go. I think it's so powerful that I want to spend as much time as possible in the part of my life now, so I gain the most benefit, so I can have that benefit for most of my life. So it's just exciting to me. I love meditation. I've been doing it for a while. But don't think you need to start with an hour. You can just literally take 5 minutes out of your day, sit in a comfortable position, close your eyes, and embrace an attitude of ease and openness. That's really all there is to it at the core. Now, one technique that is the most common mindfulness technique is just focusing on your breath. That would be awesome. I haven't heard of that level of meditation prowess yet, but it can certainly help you shape-shift a lot of your brain and how you perceive the world. There's a lot of changes that have been documented by people who have meditated for many years. How they they see the world in a completely different way, right? Like non-duality and other sort of changes in perception. Mental shape-shifting, let's call it that. But yeah, just here's how to do it. For anybody who's watching who just wants a quick tutorial. Find a comfortable position. You want to be sitting up straight, right? Don't lean back on a couch. You're going to fall asleep. Be sitting upright. You can go on the edge of a chair and do this. And just focus on your breath. Feel it in your chest. Maybe you feel it in your nose as it goes down your throat. Wherever you feel it, just focus on that, wherever you feel it the most. And follow your in-breath all the way to your out-breath. And literally, that's all you have to do. Just follow it. Now, you'll notice, and here's the key, you'll notice after some point, your mind has drifted. You can't follow your breath. Most people, after like 5 seconds, their brain is going to be off thinking about Cheetos or, the election cycle or whatever. Yeah, they say that breathing through the nose and then out through the mouth is a way to kind of like reduce, any tension inside of you. It's like some sort of like body hack. So you can do that. But either way, just find something that's comfortable. Feel your breath and follow your breath all the way from your in-breath into your out-breath and back and forth as long as you can. And at some point, you're going to notice that you're distracted. You're thinking about something else. And that's okay. That's the point. This is the point we want to notice. When we do notice that we're distracted, that's the victory there. That's when you've succeeded. You've recognized that you're distracted. And then just gently pull your attention back to your breath. In and out. And then, of course, in a few seconds, however long it takes, you'll find yourself distracted again. And that's okay. Again, that moment you found yourself and you caught yourself, oh, I was distracted. That's a good thing. That's what we're training here. Because that moment you realize that you're distracted, you're just off in la-la land, you're training that to be stronger. The more you get to that point, the quicker you get to realize you're distracted in the future. And so that's what we're training. So don't judge yourself. Don't be upset, like, I keep getting distracted. That's the good thing, right? When you notice you're distracted, that's the success point. So again, you notice you're distracted, pull yourself back to your breath. And just repeat. And you can do that one technique all the way to enlightenment. According to the Buddha, that's what he said. You can just focus on your breath and do that one technique and become enlightened. That's how powerful it is. And that's how simple it is, as I just explained. Just focus on your breath. Notice when you're distracted. Pull yourself back gently. And just be willing to accept all the experiences that come to you. So it might be thoughts, you might be emotions, it could be sensations, all sorts of things may come to you. Just be open to all of them, whatever distracts you, whether it's any of those, and then pull yourself back. So yeah, you just learned how to do meditation. That's it in a nutshell, right there. So again, give it 5 minutes. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. And if you give it 5 minutes every day consistently for a couple weeks, for a month, you will start noticing positive changes in your life. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started myself. As always, the cool dude, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to go for an hour, and then I'm going to open it up for discussion if people want to talk about their experiences. Hey, baby. All right. See you in 1 hour, my man. Hello, hello. So if you stuck with me, that was another hour of meditation practice. Congratulations. And yeah, if you have any questions or comments, you want to share your experience, now's a good time. I'll be on for a few more minutes to just talk about those experiences with people. I mean, I'll just start. For me, it was actually really great. I did the kind of 2 different sessions on my phone, which were handy. One was oriented around sounds and listening and kind of raising my awareness to different aspects of, for example, like sounds don't really have distance associated with them. We think they do, but that's something that our mind imposes upon them, right? Like we hear a faint sound, it sounds like it's from the distance. But in reality, all that's appearing to us in consciousness is just the sound, and it seems loud or soft. So yeah, there's different ways of wrapping your head around different sensations. I think Sam Harris in particular really wants to push people towards recognizing that there's no center there's no self on the edge of experience, like there's no listener, there's no viewer. And I think it's a kind of a nudge towards non-dual perception, but not quite sure yet. I'm just enjoying it. Also, I had to get up a few times to let the dog out, and the alarm for the water bucket went off, which I have to actually put back. It gets really humid around here in the summer, and we actually capture all of the water coming from our dehumidifier, from the air conditioner, and I use it to flush the toilet. Did you know you could do that? You can take a bucket of water that you've captured from your air conditioning or whatever and just pour it into the toilet bowl. And if there's enough of it, you'll actually flush the toilet. So I think I've had to flush the toilet manually maybe like 6 times this whole summer. So, it just feels really good to reuse that water rather than just having it drip outside. And so, just doing your part to reduce your impact on the environment, and you'll save a few bucks on your water bill at the same time. But, yeah. Welcome for those people who just joined. We're talking about mindfulness and meditation. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask right now. I'm happy to talk about those things from my experience. I just wrapped up an hour of meditation myself, and I was able to sneak in a few more minutes while the viewership was quiet. Actually, surprisingly sore from yesterday's workout. I didn't think it was all that intense. Shows it doesn't take much. So again, if you have any questions about mindfulness, about meditation, about the benefits, why people do it, how to do it, this is the time, this is a good opportunity to ask. And I'll be doing this every single day. So check out my schedule, njb.fyi/schedule. You can see it at the bottom here, right there. Boop, boop, boop. That's the cat alarm for their lunch. Look who runs over. She knows that sound. Is that what you want? You want some lunch? Even though I already fed you? But yeah, take a look at the schedule. I offer all sorts of different activities. We do some perspective, topic discussions. We do mobility work. We do strength training. If you want to live well, if you want to be happy, if you want to be fit and healthy, follow, subscribe, come by, and we can go on this journey together. Because that's really what it is. It's a journey. It's a joint activity where we explore what it means to live well. So that'll do it for today, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.